My name is Dr. Nicole Cvenkel. I wish each and every one of you a happy new year. I hope the new year has started off with a bang for all of you. And as Stephanie has said, today I am really excited today because of the topic. The topic is called Navigate and Neutralize Strategies for this was the handling microaggression with confidence. Now, the topic of microaggression is really quite an interesting topic, and we're going to talk about it from the context of being a student at university or at college. We're going to keep it in this context because, of course, as students, we were all students. I was a student for many, many years. We all face microaggressions. So we're going to talk about the learning outcome of this workshop today. We're going to talk about what is microaggression. So sometimes we're going to talk about what it is and what is microaggression in the classroom. We're going to talk about the differences between microaggression and macroaggression. We're going to talk about examples, forms, and intentions of microaggression. What are the intent of a person or an individual displaying behaviors of microaggression towards you or an intended target? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to look at the impact of microaggression on college and university students. We look at microaggression in the academic setting, and the academic setting relates to college and universities. We're going to look at responses to microaggression, how college and universities respond, and how you can respond as well. We're going to look at how addressing microaggression can affect how colleges and universities can address microaggression. And we're going to talk about common categories and types of microaggressions that are usually exhibited at universities. And most importantly, we'll have an activity in there, and we'll also talk about how you can maintain your confidence after microaggression. And we'll have some key takeaways. I have been a student for many years. I would think in totality, like 12 to 15 years from my degree to the end of my PhD, because I did 2 masters. I have been a student for a very long time. I've also been a faculty for a very long time because I've taught at colleges and universities. I've been an academic dean. So I know I've held academic leadership position as I've been a dean, I've been an associate regional director. So I've sat on 3 sides of a coin doesn't have 3 sides, but I've sat on from 3 different perspectives. One as a student, one as a faculty, and the other as the leadership, like the deans and the academic regional directors. So, and then of course, I've worked in corporate Canada, corporate UK, corporate America, and corporate Caribbean, because I'm from the Caribbean as well. So I bring a host of experiences to you. I'm a strong advocate for Black professionals and Black lives and us as a people excelling and moving forward. So this is just a little aspect of who I am. I'm married. I have nieces and nephews who are now at university, and I counsel and mentor students who are at universities and early career starters. They've just started their career. So for me, I find this sort of workshop and being able to talk with you and to share my knowledge and experience, I find this very passionate and very interesting. So I hope you'll find the same too. So let's just get started. So what is microaggression? An interesting word, eh? So here we have the Webster Dictionary, Merriam-Webster Dictionary. This is how they defined it. They said, comment or action that's subtle and often unconsciously or unintentionally expresses a prejudiced attitude towards a member of the marginalized group. So we know marginalized groups are visible minorities, people with disability, gender, ethnicity, etc., etc. UCSC University defines microaggression as the everyday verbal, nonverbal, and environmental slights, snubs, or insults, whether intentional or unintentional, that communicate hostile, derogatory, or negative messages to target persons based solely upon their marginalized group membership. Just these definitions automatically set my mind thinking about my own life. And I want you to start thinking about your own experiences, whether at college or university, whether at work or everyday life, because microaggressions happen in everyday life, but we're setting it in the context of college and university to help you to be able to navigate the challenges of microaggression with the view and the focus so that you will maintain your confidence, your self-esteem, your integrity, your identity, and that you will not fall victim to being to affect your psychological well-being, your academic well-being, and your holistic well-being. So this lecture, apart from giving you the education about this topic, it's also to empower you so that you can be your best self at university and that you can thrive and that you wouldn't let the microaggressions that is presented or will present itself or has been presenting itself in your life from whichever avenue to affect your performance at university. So microaggressions in the classroom. It refers to everyday comments, actions that express a prejudice, attitude, or bias towards a member of the marginalized group. Sometimes because we are people of color, that in itself causes us to experience microaggressions. So microaggressions can target any aspect of a person's identity. It could be your race, your ethnicity, your sex, your gender expressions, your identity, your sexuality, your nationality, citizenship, religion, ability, or sub-economic status. You know, at university, it's like a melting pot, and people come from all over the world. Some students are very wealthy, or they may have come from a wealthy family. You may not have come from a wealthy family. That could affect you. So you might have little slants because you may not be able to purchase all the books or all the new books, you know, readily as compared to someone who came from a wealthy family. You might be able to afford secondhand books. Or when I was at university, when I was doing my first degree, I used to copy books, my friends' books, because I didn't have the money to buy the academic books myself. Yes, but it didn't make me feel less of a person because my friends were within my core group, right? And my friends were Christians like myself. So they didn't, I didn't experience microaggressions, but other people can. So another thing, these everyday expressions of bias can be intentional or unintentional and can impact instructors, staff members, students, and even your peers. So know that it can impact everyone because it's subtle behaviors, subtle nuances, subtle insults that people or the perpetrators can do or say that can affect you in a negative way. Microaggressions are subtle, as I said, often unintentional actions or comments that communicate derogatory or negative messages to individuals based on their membership in a marginal group. So we'll explain more about that. These seemingly small slights, verbal or nonverbal, may be rooted in stereotypes, biases, or prejudices, and can have a cumulative impact on the recipient's well-being and sense of belonging. I remember when I was at university, I think I was doing my first, an MBA, and my peers, the discussion was from where in the world each person was from. And I told them I was from the Caribbean. And one question I was asked of me said, "Oh, do you have telephones in the Caribbean?" I was shocked. I was like, what kind of question is that? And another question I asked was, "Oh, do you guys live in trees?" Not too long ago. Yes, these are the questions. And looking back on it, I don't think it was intentional. I just think it was ignorance on the part of the individuals or the perpetrator that asked these things. But they all form that level of microaggression, biases, stereotypical thinking. Because I'm Black, they thought, and perhaps, well, of course, I am from African descent. My ancestors did come from Africa, but I live in the Caribbean because Historically, we know that a lot of people or slaves were taken from Africa and they populated the Caribbean islands. And so, of course, I am of African descent, a Caribbean individual from African descent. And so that the person who asked that question, their bias ideology or ideology or framework of the world made them believe that all Black people live in trees or don't have phones, or because they don't perceive us as human, or like the white counterparts who have homes and who have phones, etc., etc. So you do have people who think like that. So it's very important for you as students to understand that, because you're in an environment that has a whole host of people, and people have their biases and their prejudices and things like that. Some are unintentional, but some are intentional. So it's important for you to understand that. And that's what microaggression is the unintentional biases, but some of them are intentional. So there's a difference between microaggression versus macroaggressions. So they're two different things. So microaggressions are experienced by most stigmatized individuals and occur on a regular basis. It is indirect, subtle, and unintentional discrimination against members of the marginal group. So it happens all the time. It happens at university, regrettably, at college, everyday life. If you're working or you have a part-time job, I'm sure you can reflect on little comments or slight comments from sometimes your peers, sometimes from customers, wherever you go, even in a social settings. I was sharing with Stephanie earlier, even over the Christmas, my husband and I, we went to visit one of my husband's friends, and I'm always asked this, in Canada in particular, I don't know what it is, I'm always asked, oh, where are you from? Always. And if I say I'm from Prince George or I'm from BC, no. Where were you born? Where were you originally from? The subtle nuances of bias and discrimination, because to the perpetrator, they see me as, oh, you cannot possibly be Canadian, because in their view or in their minds, Canadians are probably white. And we all know that the true Canadians are the Aboriginals of the world. Everyone else are immigrants, right? That's history and that's facts. But this is the subtle nuances of the microaggressions. Macroaggressions is an act of racism towards everyone of race, gender, or group. For example, of a macroaggression would be individuals spreading misinformation about COVID-19 and placing blame on Asia. And this has contributed to an increase in hate crimes against Asian Canadians. And we've seen this across all provinces. We've seen different hate groups and people were attacked and temples were burned and all these things. So that's referred to as macroaggression. So it's very important for you to understand the differences between macroaggression, which is overt, open racism or prejudice shown to certain groups or groups of individuals because of their ethnicity, their gender, their diversity, and their race, as opposed to micro aggressions, which is the subtle little nuances and the subtle little jives or comments or behaviors that takes place. So, for example, another behavior is like Black women are usually or sometimes followed around if they go into a store, because the perception or the bias or the stereotypical thinking might be that they're likely to shoplift as opposed to any other race. Or Black men are usually pulled over more frequently than white or other ethnic groups because the police perceive that they're more likely to be criminals as compared to their other counterparts. So all these are examples of microaggressions. Okay, so that's the differences between micro and macroaggressions. So examples of microaggressions: treating how people are treated, how they interact with you, and their behavior towards you. So treating someone as a second-class citizen because of their gender, race, or sexual orientation. At college and university, discouraging students from working on projects that explore their own social identities. Asking people with hidden disabilities to identify themselves in class. Things like that. Complimenting, communicating, and commenting. Complimenting a person raised in Canada on their English simply because they're not white. Things like that. Very subtle. It's a compliment, they paid you, but it's the type of compliment. Very subtle. At university and college, complimenting non-white students on their use of good English. Oh, wow, your English is very good. I've been told that many times before. But it's a compliment, but it's the type of compliment. So understanding the subtle, some people it's unintentional depending on their background and where they're coming from, because it might be one of your friends that might say that. I don't think a true friend will intentionally hurt you or say something to anger you or to make you feel, to affect your mental state. So as we go along, the lecture will talk about how you can address these issues and address these behaviors. Telling a person with obesity that they should eat less. You know, why are you eating all those fried foods? Or you should stay off the chicken. Or, wow, you eat, that's a large portion. We do it in our own homes sometimes and we're unaware that is considered as microaggression. So these are the subtle nuances of microaggressions. These are some examples. Their forms, the microaggressions take certain forms. For example, comments, jokes. You know, we like lots of jokes. And I think that the best place for teasing and jokes are at universities. Everyone gets a nickname. Even nicknames can be microaggression depending on your nickname. Comments, jokes, gestures, or environmental cues. And they target individuals based on their race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, disability, or other characteristics. You know, you might be a little chubby. I was a little chubby at school, and I got a nickname because of my chubbiness. I'm not going to say what it is, though, but I got a nickname because of my chubbiness. That was microaggression against me because it was a characteristic of how I was. I'm still a little chubby, but I was chubbier then. You know, so these are things it's very important for us to understand. They often occur in everyday interactions, and because they are subtle, they can be challenging to address directly. So you have to, because I want you to have emotional intelligence, not to pick every fight, but to choose your battles and understand the context, understand who is saying what, understand the context, and you can ask for clarification to be clear that you do understand the context and how and why the comment was made. So, for example, a microaggression could be a person assuming that someone of a particular race works in a particular job based on stereotypes, or using language that minimizes a person's experience because of their gender. So stereotypical thinking that all Black people should be maids or butlers. So that's your job. I had a friend in England, and she couldn't understand my confidence, the confidence that I had compared to hers. And I didn't even perceive that I had confidence. I just knew who I am and who I was and who I am. But she suffered with low self-esteem. So she asked me, I didn't even raise the topic with her. She asked me, Nicole, why are you so confident? I said, well, I don't understand that question. And she told me when she was a child, in I think middle school, she was asked by the teacher. Well, the teacher asked all the children, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And so children were saying what they wanted to be, and she told me she wanted to be a doctor. And so she said, Miss, I want to be a doctor. And the teacher said to her, oh, her name is Cleo. She said, oh, no, Cleo, you can't be a doctor, but you will be someone's maid. I was shocked by that. And I said, your teacher actually said that to you? She said, yes. And she said, on all of my life, I remember that teacher's voice telling me that I can only be someone's maid. And this person was a certified social worker. She was a social worker manager. but she still lacked the confidence because of that one teacher that sowed that negative seed in her, that microaggressive seed, that she was only good enough to be someone's carer. Reflecting on my life, I was raised in the Caribbean. My parents said to me, my father was an avid reader. My father was an RCMP, very strict Christian upbringing. But he was very practical and open-minded in the world. And he used to say to me, he used to say, Nicole, you can be anything you want to be in this life. He said, you have to just work hard for it. He said, there is no free lunches. No one is going to give you anything free. You have to work hard for it, but you will excel at everything that you do with God's help. Look at the two differences. We're both Black women. She's from Caribbean heritage. Her parents was from the Caribbean, but she was born and raised in the UK. So she just had a different orientation than I did. But the two of us had two of us viewed life differently, whereby she lacked the confidence and I had confidence in myself because of what was said to me, what was sown into me, what I saw mirrored in front of me through my parents. So this is why I'm sharing these examples with you, for you to always stay confident despite the microaggressions that you may experience or have already experienced or is experiencing. Because you have no control over what the person has said or done, but you have control on how you respond to it. So that's very important. So another example, it could be making assumptions about someone's abilities based on their appearance or disability. So this is very important. So people always make jibes and comments, she's too skinny, she can't, I don't know, she can't do trade work, she wouldn't be able to hold a chainsaw, or jobs are fundamentally taken up by men. So if you're a woman wanting to, I don't know, be let's say a rock truck driver, it's, comments and jabs and slides would be, given to you because the perception and even the bias and the stereotypical thinking that a woman cannot be an excellent rock truck driver. So these are all called microaggressions. So the intention of microaggression, of course, it's prejudice, it's stereotypical thinking, it's discrimination, it's racial biases. And it is important to recognize that microaggressions may not always be intended to harm, but they can still contribute to a hostile or invalidating environment for the individuals affected. These experiences can erode self-esteem. It can erode your self-esteem. It can, it can cause you to feel excluded, and contribute to a broader pattern of systemic inequality and discrimination. If these intentions are not curtailed and structured and actually eradicated, these are the intents that can happen. You can create an environment of discrimination, inequality, and of course, this can affect your psychological well-being, how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself, your self-confidence, as well as your academic performance. Your grades can start falling because you become disinterested and disenfranchised. You don't want to go to classes, because for some reason you think this lecturer is against you, or he or she dislikes you, or he or she is biased towards you for whatever reason, and you cease to exist. And what I've seen students do, they pull away and they suffer in silence. And I always say, don't suffer in silence, seek help. Recognize the microaggressions for what they are, recognize them. And if they are affecting you, seek help. One, you have to have self-confidence. You have to have enough emotional intelligence yourself, and self-confidence yourself to allow things to slide and say, no, you cannot define me. You cannot define me. You don't have the authority to define who I am. I define who I am, and I can do this. I've worked hard enough to get entry into this college or this university. I am in this class, I am in this program, and I am going to excel. I will prove to you that I will excel. Yes, so that's the attitude that one has to have. So the impact of microaggression on students, as you can see from the pictures, it can really wear you down. So it can have significant impact, both academically and emotionally or psychologically, as I said. These subtle, often unconscious, verbal or nonverbal slights and insults can create a hostile environment, psychologically too, as well as physically, leading to stress and anxiety, and even the erosion of self-confidence amongst targeted people. And it could be us, it could be you, it could be me. So how do we move away from this? We don't want to find ourselves like this, but many of us have found ourselves like this, including me. You know, the key is not to stay like this and to move on. Be resilient. We are resilient people. In fact, the key is not to even allow yourself to be like this. Yes, and to move forward. So this is another reason why this workshop is so important to help all you students. So what do we do? In academia, when you have microaggressions in academia, it can hinder you from moving forward and enjoying your studies. It's often, learning new things is such an exciting experience. But if it's coupled with microaggressions and slights and racial tensions and stereotypical behavior, that can really wear you down. The key is not to allow yourself to be put in that box or in those positions. So constant exposure to dismissive remarks or stereotypes can make it difficult for students to concentrate and perform at its best. And for you to perform at your best. It can lead to a sense of alienation and reluctance to participate in classroom discussions or academic activities. Sometimes if you have an accent, and we all do have accents, by the way, if you have an accent and sometimes, if you're fearful to give your comment and to give some feedback, you know the answer or you have something credible to say that will contribute to the discussion, but you're fearful because you think somebody might make fun of your accent or how you pronounce your words. All those are microaggressions. Don't allow people to make fun of how you pronounce your words or your accent, because we all have accents and we all pronounce words differently. The accumulation of microaggressions can contribute to a toxic and unwelcoming campus climate. When students feel targeted or marginalized, it can negatively impact their relationship with your peers, your community. It can impact your whole experience at college or university. Don't allow that to happen. This can create a divisive atmosphere that undermines the principles of diversity, equality, inclusion at the colleges and universities strive to uphold. That's why the notion of diversity and equal opportunities and anti-discrimination policies exists. And so the college and universities, their due diligence should be in terms of not only developing these policies and procedures, but also educating faculty, staff, and students of their existence and what is required in terms of the implementation of these protocols. So it's important for you to find out what are the microaggression policies that exist in my university and my college, and familiarize yourself with them. So at least you know where you stand and you know what's in place. It's usually frowned upon. It's not embraced because it's something negative, but you have that knowledge to be forearmed. Forewarned is to be forearmed. So you have that knowledge that can take you further. So these are some responses to microaggressions at colleges and universities. So as I said, they create support systems and resources specifically designed to help students cope with any sort of emotional and psychological impact of microaggressions. Then colleges and universities always have counseling systems and peer support groups. And the BBPA has a mentorship group or mentorship plan for students. So if you have any issues, you can come and speak to your mentor about it. Your mentor looks like you. The BBPA makes sure that your mentor looks like you, and we understand what your experience is, and we're professionals, and we're human beings, right? And we're here to help you. So colleges and universities try to accommodate that. They don't always get it right, but you do have those support systems in place that you can tap into. And these support systems can offer a safe space for students to discuss their experiences and seek guidance on how to navigate and respond to microaggressions. And the BBPA, tap into your mentors at the BBPA because we offer a safe space for you to help you navigate any sort of microaggressions that you might be experiencing. Then colleges and universities must prioritize the development of policies and procedures to make sure to condemn microaggressions. And they also provide avenues for reporting and addressing student instances. These include establishing clear protocols to establish complaints and to ensure microaggression does not continue or exist. Beyond institutional, so that's beyond college and university, it is critical for students to be equipped with the knowledge and skills to recognize and respond to microaggressions. And that's what you're doing now. And that equipping of your skills or growing your skills comes through education. By educating yourself about various forms of microaggressions and it will empower you to advocate for yourself and others and to help create a more inclusive and supportive campus environment. And most importantly, it will help you develop the tools and the skills and the resilience that you need to be able to know how to navigate the experience of microaggression, to ensure that you stay confident and that microaggressions, however they may present itself, does not affect your performance at university. It does not affect your academic experience, your academic life. You've been able to capitalize very succinctly on the experience. So if you want to speak out and give your comments at a class, you should do so because you're paying hard currency for that experience. You're there because you deserve to be there. That seat was given to you and not someone else. Some of you are on scholarships. Some of you had to work, in fact, all of you had to work extremely hard to get into that college or university. You deserve to be there. You are there and you should give it your best shot. Don't allow your emotions to become sucked into microaggressions, and that will cause you to affect your and to give you stress and to cause you to be anxious or to affect your mental health or your well-being, and by extension your academic performance. So this is a very important lecture or workshop to help you to identify what these things are, the subtle nuances and how they presented themselves, but to build you up as a person, as a student at university or college, and so that you'll be able to navigate the challenges successfully. So this is very important. So these are some microaggressions that you can find at university and colleges. The first step in addressing microaggression is to recognize when a microaggression has occurred and what message it may be sending. Very important. The context of the relationship and situation is critical. So under the first theme, you're an alien in one's own land. Sometimes we feel that way. When Black Canadians or Afro-Africans or Asians or others who look different or are named differently from the dominant culture, they're assumed to be foreign-born. So what is the microaggression examples under this theme? These are the questions. I have been asked this question, I can't tell you how many times. Where are you from? Or where were you born? Another question, another statement. You speak English very well. A person asking an Afro-Canadian, Caribbean Canadian, or Black Canadian to teach them words in their native language, as if your native language is not English, or one of your native language not English. Continuing to mispronounce the names of students after students have corrected the person time and time again. Not willing to listen closely and learn the pronunciation of a non-English based name. I have experienced every single one of these, and my name is English. And I've still had people, because of my ethnicity, my name is Nicole. Because of my ethnicity, they've always mispronounced my 5-syllable name. In fact, once I responded to a guy, because I said to him, my name is Nicole, And he was like, what? I don't understand what you're saying. What? What? That was intentional though, but it was microaggression. And I said to him, after repeating myself a few times, I kept saying, well, my name is Nicole. My name is Nicole. And after a few times, I said, do you know Nicole Kidman? And he was shocked. He was like, oh, oh. I said, that's my name. And he said nothing else. That ended the conversation because everyone knows Nicole Kidman is white. So he knows her name, but he had problems knowing that my name is also Nicole because I'm Black. So these are the subtle things. So the message that you were sending is that you're not a true Canadian. You are a perpetual foreigner in your own country for those who are born here. And your ethnic or racial identity makes you exotic, or I can't pronounce your name, or I'm not used to your culture, etc., etc. So these are the subtle nuances that took place. Excuse me. Excuse me. So these are some more examples. An ascription of intelligence. Assigning intelligence to a person of color or a woman based on his or her race and gender. So the microaggression examples, you are a credit to your race. I've heard that too. Wow, how did you become so good in math? So to a Black or Asian person, you must be good in math. Can you help me with this problem? To a woman of color, I would have never guessed that you were a scientist. I heard that too. And this is the message that these microaggression is sending. People of color are generally not as intelligent as whites. All Black and Asians are intelligent and good in math and science. It is unusual for a woman to have strong mathematical skills. Another theme, denial of individual racism, sexism, and heterosexism. A statement made when bias is denied. I am not racist. I have several Black friends. Like when people are confronted by the microaggression that they have exhibited in others. And I've heard this as well. I'm not racist. I have Black friends. As a woman, I know what you're going through as a racial minority. To the person of color, are you sure you were being followed in the store? I can't believe it. I've experienced that where I've gone back to work, returned to work. I've been followed in stores by the staff. And when I went back to work and I was complaining to my, I thought, colleagues, I have had people say, are you sure that you were being followed? I just can't believe that because I've never experienced that at that store. Of course, you would not experience it because you're white. But I experienced it. So a denial that you're that I've experienced that. So that denial, that's called microaggression. And this is the messaging that it sends. I could never be racist because I have friends of color. I've heard people say that. Your racial oppression is no different than my gender oppression. I can't be racist. I am just like you. Denying the personal experience of individuals who experience bias. So these are forms and the messaging that these microaggressions sends. The last one is pathologizing cultural values and communicating styles. The notion that the values and communication styles of the dominant white culture are ideal and normal. And that's the only one that's ideal or normal. So the example of the microaggression examples to an Asian, they might say something like, why are you so quiet? We want to know what you think. Be more verbal. Speak up more. I've heard that. Asking a Black person, why do you have to be so loud and animated? Just calm down. I've been told that too. Another thing, why are you always angry? Anytime race is brought up in a classroom discussion. I've heard that too. Dismissing an individual who brings up race culture in a work or school setting. I've experienced that too. This is the message that these sort of microaggressions are sending. Assimilate to the dominant culture will probably go away, cease to exist. Leave your cultural baggage outside, and there's no room for difference here. This is not how we do things here. I've heard that too. And so I hope as we're going along, you're probably reflecting on your own lives and experiences. And these are all called microaggressions. Oh, traditional gender role prejudicing and stereotyping occurs when expectations of traditional roles and stereotypes are conveyed. So these are the examples. When a female student asks a male professor for extra help on an engineering assignment, he asks, "What do you need to work on this for anyway? You're a girl. You don't have to be good at math." A person asks a woman her age, and upon hearing that she's 31, looks quickly at her ring finger. Oh, I've had that lots. An advisor asks a female student if she's planning to have children while in postdoctoral training. Labeling an assertive female committee chair dean as the B word, while describing a male counterpart as a forceful leader. So if you're assertive as a woman, you're considered the B word or other derogatory terms. But if it's a male and he's assertive, oh yes, he's a good leader, he's a forceful leader, he's forthright, he's powerful, all those positive affirmation is used to describe the male leader, and the female leader has all the negative connotations and connotations towards her. This is the message that is sending from a gender perspective, prejudice and stereotypical perspective. Women are less capable in math and in science. Women should be married during childbearing ages because that is their primary purpose. I believe we have more of a purpose than just childbearing. And women are out of line when they are aggressive. So all these nuances, these are microaggressions or examples of microaggressions and the messages that they send. So there are common categories of microaggressions, and it's common categories or types of microaggressions, and you need to be at least to remember them. So the first one is ascription of intelligence, assuming someone is unintelligent or smarter than average based on their appearance or accent. Denial of racial reality, dismissing claims that race was or is relevant to understanding someone's experience. Denial or devaluing experience or culture, assuming that others are like you and ignoring the existence, histories, and cultures of other people. Making judgment about belonging, assuming people are foreign or don't speak English well because of their appearance. Questioning someone's membership status, such as "you don't look disabled," or "you don't seem that gay to me," or "if you were Jewish, wouldn't you do X or Y?" Things like that. Assumption of criminality, guarding belongings more carefully when around certain groups or expressing fear of certain groups. I've experienced actually in a crowd, in an elevator, in organizations, a few people in the elevator, and once a Black male comes on that elevator, I have seen with my own eyes other people, they make a lot of room for him, and they clutch their purses or their wallets or whatever they've deemed as valuable to them, for fear or the stereotypical bias thinking that the Black male may rob them. Criminalizing the Black males. I've seen it done to me too, but not as much as I've seen with Black males. With Black females is more shoplifting, and with Black males is more criminalizing. Okay, he's going to rob me. He's going to steal my wallet or my purse, etc., etc. Assumption of immorality, assuming that poor people, undereducated people, LGBTQIA plus people, or people of color are more likely to be devious, untrustworthy, or unethical. So these are the categories of microaggression, which I believe you should learn and have an idea about them. Of course, this presentation will be given to you at the end, so you can have it for continuous referral too. Before microaggression happens, we must recognize and reflect on our own biases, interactions, and behaviors. I think that's very important, actually, because we all have biases, whether we want to accept it or not. We all interact with people and we all behave in a certain way. So, as students at universities and colleges, even in the world of work, even in the way you behave in your personal life and relationships with others, it's important for us to understand and recognize the sort of biases we have, how we interact with people, and how we behave amongst people. So, understanding a general definition of microaggressions, that's very important, and we understand it's a subtle biases that happens every day. That's intentional. Some are intentional, some are unintentional, but it's stereotypically geared towards a certain minority group. Consider the various ways that they might manifest themselves and the impact they will have on everyone in a learning environment in school, university, or college. Understand that good intentions can still be harmful. So so it might be to your friend, and you love your friend, you care for your friend, but you might say something that might otherwise hurt his or her feelings. So even though it was unintentional, or the microaggression was unintentional, it can still be harmful. So that's why it's important for us to exercise emotional intelligence. My mother used to always say, think before you speak. That's wise. Understand your own triggers. What makes you uncomfortable and why, and how you can work with and through this discomfort. That's very important. Understand your triggers. With my husband, his triggers is communism. If you bring up a topic of communism, that triggers him immediately because he lived through that. And of course, he hates the oppressive regime, etc., etc. My trigger is prejudice and discrimination. That triggers me. And because I know what triggers me, I have developed a coping mechanism that informs my behavior and how I respond. And it's very important for you to do that as well at university, colleges, at work, and in your life, right? Be open to students or individuals about your expertise and your challenges. So we're not we strive for perfection, but we are not perfectionists. So be open with your mentor about the areas that you're struggling, and your mentor, we're here to help you to help you navigate through the struggles or challenges that you may have so that you can respond differently, so that it would not affect you in a negative way. College and universities should develop community agreements to help students and faculty and staff to navigate through any sort of microaggressions. Education institutions should invite students to offer clarification and seek questionnaires and seek questions to help the whole process to be resolved. So when microaggression happens, this is a self-guide. What should you do? So if someone intentionally or even unintentionally offer or suggests something that can be deemed as microaggression towards you, what should you do? So this is a sort of a self-guide, which is really important. So acknowledge the moment and immediately take the lead in addressing the situation. So you should slow down or stop the conversation. And you should breathe, pause, take a breath, but stay calm as possible. And you could even ask the person for clarification. So, you've mentioned that, okay, for example, you mentioned that that you're surprised that I speak English very well. What do you mean by that? Can you give me some clarification on why you made that statement? Things like that. Yes, so ask for clarification and explain why the incident was problematic. And you could say to them, well, I am from the Caribbean and English is our mother tongue. That's our main language. So I was just perplexed by why you would ask me or suggest that I speak English very well when I've been speaking English all of my life. Can you explain to me why that was a question that you asked? Something like that. You're seeking clarification, but you're addressing the situation. Acknowledge the emotions in the room, both visibly and invisibly, and invisible. So you're of course you're looking at the person, so see how they respond to you asking or seeking clarification. And if you see that the person is visibly shocked by your response, or if you see that the person has begun to get visibly angry, the intention is always to diffuse, not to accelerate. Okay, so pay attention, and that's where your emotional intelligence comes in. While acknowledging the impact, make sure that you validate and support those who have been targeted, or even the microaggression that has been targeted to you. So stay calm, confident, and in control. Yes, remember, we're staying calm, confident, and in control at all times. Follow the college and university protocols for microaggression. And this is what you should do. If another thing that you should continue to do is, if you are the target of the microaggressions, be direct and share your own thoughts about the comments and behavior. So you can say something like, well, I was born in the Caribbean and we speak English. That's our mother tongue. We don't speak any other language. So I've been speaking English all of my life. So I was just perplexed and shocked that you would comment that I speak English very well. Then provide information, clarification, and or your perspective on the comments or behavior or issues. You know, you can say something to the effect of, you know, English is one of the main language that is spoken globally, you know, and it's being spoken more and more in non-English speaking countries like Europe and France and Germany, etc., etc. So it's a common language. The third point, encourage students or individuals to think of other possibilities beyond their comment, behavior, and issues. Sometimes people are stereotypical in their thinking because they're very narrow in their perspective. So give them an alternative conceptualization about their misaggression or misaggressive behavior. You know, you can say, perhaps we can both go on a language course. If it appears that language seems to be something that you are interested in, perhaps we can both, seeing that we both speak English, perhaps we can both take a course in French, for example. You know, just diffuse it, but give them a different perspective. Sometimes, and very calmly and respectfully, of course, you know, but to give them a different alternative, a different perspective, you know, but to let them know that, okay, what you said was offensive, and you don't even have to use the word offensive, but you seek clarification and ask them to explain why they made that comment. And then you give them alternatives. So this is a self-guide that you can embrace to help you through microaggressions. Some of them, it's not even worth going into these steps, you know, because if you think that the person said it intentionally, and perhaps the person may not be a friend or a person that you think, okay, perhaps you don't, you're not worthy of my time, because remember, you're a student and you need to spend your time very intentional. You know, you need to be strategic in terms of how you spend your time and what you allow into your space, into your mind, because as students you need to stay focused. Some battles you just don't even get into them. But if it's a friend or someone that you care about or someone that you think, you know, I would like to get to know you better, you know, you can spend that time you know, going through this self-guide to sort of, you know, seek clarification and to help that person too, to be better and more intentional in terms of how he or she embraces you and interact with you and other minority groups. So what to avoid when facing microaggressions? These are some things. Don't take a passive approach and let the perpetrator direct the discussion. Don't disengage from the conversation by accepting superficial responses or dismissing the topic, because most perpetrators do. Don't respond with hostility. Always stay calm. Don't look to marginalize students or instructors to be experts on issues related to their identity group. Don't give full attention to the perpetrator while ignoring the targets of the microaggression. And don't focus on debates about intent of the microaggression. Oh, I didn't intend to do this. I meant to say this. What each person said, or determining who is right and who's wrong. So these are the don'ts. So causes, manifestations, and consequences of microaggressions at university. So microaggression at college and university can result in a variety of factors, and they can have significant manifestations and consequences of those who experience them. So if you are experiencing microaggression, it's an implicit bias held by individuals. You're not at fault. It's just these individuals have these biases, these stereotypical thinking and stuff. Lack of awareness regarding the impact of certain behaviors or statement. They're just not aware. The experience of inclusion or alienation. This can occur when individuals are made to feel like they don't belong or are not valued due to their race, gender, sexual orientation, disability, or other characteristics. These microaggressions can manifest in subtle ways, such as through comments, questions, or actions that carry underlying discriminatory or derogatory connotations. These behaviors can create a hostile environment for those affected and can have serious consequences on students, faculty, and staff. So these are some consequences of microaggressions, and these are the things that we don't want you to experience. Increase stress and anxiety for those targeted, as you feel pressured and continually navigate to mitigate these harmful interactions. Contribute to lack of representation and visibility for marginalized groups when the academic community impacts their sense of belonging and hinders their academic and professional advancement. So that's why it's important for universities to have, representation, not only in the student body, but in the staff body, the academic body, as well as the staffing body. So everyone has like a representation of a person or a group of people that they could go and speak to. You look like me. Where I was raised in the Caribbean, everyone looked like me. The professors, the politicians, the leaders, the lawyers, everyone was Black. And so that provided a sense of confidence in me that I could aspire to anything because all the mentors looked like me. But when I moved, when my father immigrated to the UK, then there was a difference. And I'm sure it's the same for some of you right now at university and college. But it doesn't matter where you are. You need to be self-aware. You need to have that confidence and assurance that you are good enough, you have what it takes, and you can do it, and you can excel at university. So microaggressions at college and university have a negative impact on the mental health and overall well-being of students. Constant exposure to microaggression can lead to feelings of anger, frustration, self-doubt amongst the targeted individuals. Don't allow yourself to feel this way, but these are some consequences. Decline in academic performance and the reluctance to fully engage. I've seen students, the academic performance just went down. Don't allow yourself to be drawn into these loopholes. It can create a toxic learning and working environment, ultimately undermining the mission of what the college and university education is geared to do. So these are some of the consequences that can happen to you if you're constantly experiencing microaggressions. How to address these? So these are some approaches that can be used to address microaggression at universities. A multifaceted approach. This is from a systemic perspective. Commitment to systemic change and ongoing effort to dismantle underlying biases and discriminatory practices that perpetuate harmful behaviors. This is the university and the faculty and the staff responsibility to make sure that the environment does not have these negative triggers. And this is done through policy development and implementation and training and educating, etc. Raising awareness about the impact of microaggressions and the importance of creating an inclusive and respectful environment, diversity and sensitivity training for students, faculty, and staff. Usually the orientation week at college and university covers all these areas, implementation of clear policies and procedures, proactive measures to increase diversity across the university through staffing, student body, and other members, and creating supportive networks that can help to mitigate the negative consequences. You have like counseling services, and of course with the BBPA, you have your mentor supportive networks that you can tap into. So from everything that I've covered, I have this activity and discussion. So as a student, think about your experiences of microaggressions at college or university, at work, your part-time job, or everyday life. Think about it. Share one of these experiences with the group. How did you handle this experience? And with the knowledge that you have learned today, how would you handle microaggressions in the future? So take about 2 minutes to think about it. And if you can share your experiences answering these questions with the group, that will be great.
Thank you so much, Nicole, so far. This has been such an informative session. I've learned a lot myself
Oh,
from this, so greatly appreciate it. When you guys are ready to speak, you should be able to just unmute yourself or raise your virtual hand. If you're not in an environment where you can speak, please feel free to leave your comments in the chat. But we get most out of this when the sessions are interactive. So please, this is an area and a safe space. So we encourage you to contribute and participate.
okay. I will. Ah, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, you're welcome. I just thought I'd provide one answer if it helps to helps the group to get the brain juices flowing. Um, in high school, I do believe, just thinking back, that I was told, my math teacher, I think, told me, had asked me a question as to why I was taking the class when I was doing relatively well. So,
Mhm.
why do you need this? So I view that as a microaggression now. At the time, I didn't deal with it very well in the sense I didn't know that it was a microaggression. And so
Oh,
I just responded, well, I need this class. And then the question, they sort of asked me again, well, but why? Why do you need to take this class? And so I didn't recognize it was a microaggression. I wish I had. I was just too young.
yes. Yes. So Michelle, thank you for that. So if you are asked that question today, Michelle, with the knowledge that you know now, how would you handle? How would you handle that?
I think I'd probably ask, why are you asking me why I am taking this class? I'd like to
Yes.
understand more about your line of thinking before I respond.
Wonderful, Michelle. Wonderful. Well done. That's right. Because that will the person that will have been that asks that question will have an opportunity to reflect on the question and perhaps because it really was a biased question because you can take any class that you choose, right? And so hopefully that will correct his or her behavior. Thank you. Excellent, excellent case. Thank you. Abigail, thank you.
Hi. When I was working, I for the first time I was meeting the team, and it was a bilingual position, and I was speaking French with one of the coworkers, and they're Caucasian and I'm Black, and they asked how come I speak French so well, and
See?
I told them it was my first language, and and it was kind of like I get that sometimes, but I always think like, why don't you think like Black people can speak French too? Like, there's a
That's
lot
right.
of African countries that were
That speaks French, definitely.
yeah,
That
that were
French is the
colonized by
first,
the
yes.
French.
Congo,
Yes.
you have the, yeah, yes,
And also some people have learned French, so it's weird to ask how come you speak French so well,
so well.
or
It's
maybe why.
definitely a bias, yes.
Or like how come you're bilingual, multilingual. Yeah.
Yes. So Abigail, how will you address that now from the knowledge that you've acquired from this class so far? How will you address someone asking you that sort of question again?
I would just ask them, why do they think someone like me wouldn't be able to speak another language so well?
Yes. Yes, yes. I always ask them very well. Thank you. Always ask them, can you please explain why you think I should not speak French? Ask them to explain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Always ask them to explain and to clarify. Seek clarification. There's nothing wrong with seeking clarification. Well, I was born in a French speaking country. French is my mother tongue, it's my first language. Can you explain to me why would you think that I should not speak French. Just seek clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, well done, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good examples. These are all microaggressions that we experience. One was in school and the other one was in the world of work. It happens all the time. But now we have a guide, a self-guide in terms of how we can approach, a discussion in a respectful, calm, controlled way. Again, yes.
Yeah, I remember.
Stephanie?
Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
to this day, whenever I wear my hair out, my hair is very long
Yes.
and has loose curls, and it's always, is that your real hair?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
is that your hair? And my response is always, it either grew from my head or I bought it. But either way, yes, it is mine.
Good for you. When I wear wigs, because there are times I do wear wigs, and I get that, oh, is that your hair? I said, yes, I bought it.
Yeah, absolutely. When you go to areas, I know like Bathurst in Toronto is predominantly Jewish, and it's
Yes.
cultural for Jewish women to wear wigs because
Yes.
basically they're not supposed to show their hair. I'm
Yes.
sure you're gonna ask that question.
Yes. Oh, even here, people, it's a microaggression because people assume that all Black women wear wigs.
Or that
And
all
and
Black women must have very kinky hair.
yes, we don't have enough hair, so that's why we must wear wigs. And I'm often asked when I do my wigs, I'm often asked, how long is your hair? How long is your natural hair? Microaggression.
Yep.
Microaggression, because they always think we have no hair, we have kinky hair. Oh, and another thing I hear people say, good hair. So in other words, the Black woman. So good hair, or the term good hair is connotated towards white women, Asian women, and East Indian women. But bad hair is connotated towards Black women.
Oh, and we also got my daughter. There was a year that there's a lot of lice outbreaks in my children's school, and
Yes.
I was speaking to one of the teachers, and I said, "Why is this permissible that this one family doesn't have to treat this, but everybody else um has to be impacted by it?" And I was
Mm-hmm.
told, "Don't worry, lice doesn't like your type of hair." And I said to them, I said, "And what type of hair is that?"
That's right. Good
And I
good rebuttal.
And
Yes.
I said, "You realize that life is rampant in all countries, all over the world.
Yes. All over the
So
world.
once again, what type of hair don't they like?"
Yes. Yes. So you see how subtle these questions are, or these statements, these behaviors, these comments, these jabs, these slights. You get it everywhere. And it's because of these individual biases. It has nothing to do with us. It's not our fault. It's not our but it's how we respond to it. So
Absolutely. And sorry, one more thing. I remember I've always been told growing up, and this has always helped me, that
yes,
a person's behavior speaks about them, not about you.
that's right. That's right. And we'll hold on to a person behavior speaks about them and it's not about you. So in other words, we have control. We don't have control about how people will respond, but we have complete control on our response to them.
But in
And
addition to that,
it's not.
their comments towards me, it has nothing to do with me.
That's right.
It doesn't speak to me as a person. It speaks to them in their ignorance.
That's right. And so that's perfectly true. So students, don't allow people's biases or their stereotypical thinking to affect you, to affect your peace, to affect your well-being, your mental health at university. You deserve to be there. You are there, and you're there for a reason, and your reason should be to excel. And in fact, the more you tell me that I can't, I dig my heels in and show you that I can. You have to have that resilient attitude, that stick-to-it attitude that will make that, in other words, you shut the mouths of the lions, all the naysayers, all of them who think, oh, Black people are not intelligent. Excel, get a first-class degree. Excel, excel, excel. So that's really important. So moving forward, so now we know about microaggression. How can we move forward and maintain our confidence after we've experienced all these microaggressions? Yes, Michelle.
sorry to interrupt. I just have a question. I'm
Yes.
wondering what happens when the individual who's sort of carrying out the microaggression then becomes very emotional once they've realized they've done something. So I've heard of stories, in high school, for example, of individuals who become emotional because they're being told they've done something wrong, either directly or indirectly. And so the tables shift very quickly where you feel like you are the one causing harm in
Yes.
that situation, or you're the perpetrator. And
Yes.
so I'm wondering if you
Well,
have any
I
advice
think,
around that.
and that's a very good advice. I think you should still stick with the thing. Stay calm and positive, right? Stay calm and positive, and say to the perpetrator, my intent is not for you to feel overwhelmed or to be upset. But the fact that you actually made this comment, I sought clarification, because usually what the perpetrators do, that's a sort of a recourse for them. So it's either they can do two things: they can get emotional or they can get angry. Yes, but whatever response that you see or they exhibit, stay focused on what on the topic, and just redirect the thoughts in terms of, I'm sorry that you feel that way, I'm sorry that you're crying, but your statement was really biased and stuff like that, and go towards providing information. Perhaps now that you have this understanding as that this comment can actually offend certain people, hopefully this education of it, or you've been educated enough, or now more enough, or become more sensitive enough about what a comment like that can do to others. Yeah, and just encourage them to, so don't allow the cries or the anger to dissuade you from moving forward and giving them an alternative conceptualization in a calm, clear, confident, and controlled way. Because some people resort to tears just to avoid. It's an avoidance tactic too, right? So
Yes, and
that's
I was going to add to that, Nicole, that you are not responsible for other people's reactions.
That's right.
You watch it with children. One child hits another, that one gets upset, and then the one who hit starts crying.
That's true.
Same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you're upset, but that's kind of your problem.
Yes. Yes, because you're the perpetrator. You're the one who brought the situation at hand, right? You're the one who made the statement or made the comments or behaved in a way that's it's considered microaggression.
Absolutely, and it could be a form of manipulation. The
Oh
tears.
yes, most of the times it is. Sometimes it is. The either the tears or the anger.
Yes, and I'll let you go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you. I'm glad for the interaction. So that's a really good question. So thanks, Michelle, for asking it. So how do we move forward, guys? How do we maintain our self-confidence after microaggression or after experiencing microaggression? So maintaining self-confidence after being exposed to microaggressions can be challenging, but it's not impossible. It is possible. So these are some strategies that you can adopt. Awareness. Recognize that microaggressions are not your fault. It's not your fault. You are the target. So they stem from the bias and ignorance of the person delivering them, and they do not define your worth or abilities. It doesn't define who you are. It's their problem, not yours. So some key reminders of your worth, your abilities, and your identity, knowing who you are. I took some stuff from the Bible because these verses have really helped me when I was a student, and it helps me up to today, and I think it will always help me. You are prayerfully and wonderfully made. Know that. So no one can define you if you're prayerfully and wonderfully made. You can do all things through Christ, God, who gives you strength. At university, you need that because there are times you go through little hard times because sometimes, you have a semester has lots of work or some courses have more work than others. So you're really pushing yourself. And then some of you might have part-time jobs and then you might have families or you just juggle. You have to juggle so many things. But it's encouraging to know that you can do all things through Christ that strengthens you. This scripture from Jeremiah, it's my personal favorite. Before you were conceived and formed in your mother's womb, God knew you. And he set you apart and he molded you and shaped you. So that dispels anybody who thinks that, oh, you're ugly, you're fat, you're black, you're white, you're whatever. If you have been molded before you even conceived, God molded and shaped you in your mother's womb, in our mother's womb. And he set us apart. It's such an intimate thing. It dispels the fact of who you are, what nationality, or someone making you feel less than. Because if the God of the universe molded and shaped you individually, who can say anything about you? You're designer's original. That gives confidence, self-esteem, and identity. God's plan for you is good and not of evil, and to give you a future and a hope. So when you feel you're struggling with academic challenges and there's some microaggressions, encourage yourself. God sent me here. His plan is that I'm supposed to be at university, and I'm going to give it my best shot, and he's going to help me to succeed. This other one is my personal favorite from the non-scripture world. It's from Michelle Obama. She said, when they go low, we go high, or you go high. And the reason why she said that is finding a purpose in your anger or your disappointment. In other words, when I was doing my PhD, my director of studies, the person who's supposed to be the best, who's supposed to support me with everything that she has, she was against me. And she was just against me. She didn't think I would do it, and she didn't think I would fail. She didn't think I would pass. She suggested in a microaggressive way that I will not be successful in this PhD. And I tapped into my scriptures, I tapped into my prayer, but I tapped in most fervently into my work. And I said to her and myself, I said, I will show you that I will succeed, and I will get this PhD, and I will graduate with honors. And by God's grace, I did just that. So, gentle reminders of your worth, keeping your self-esteem high, your abilities high, and knowing who you are. I tell my nieces and nephews, identify yourself, define who you are and whose you are first. So because if you leave your definition or your identity to be defined by others, they will always devalue you by their definition. But when you know who you are, whatever definition they give you, it will just run off of you, because you'll say to yourself, that's not who I am. I know who I am. And you move on. So this keeps maintain your self-confidence. It's really important for university and for life. Another aspect, maintaining your self-confidence, self-care. Engaging in activities and practices that promote self-care and self-compassion. Exercise, meditation, sports, spending time with loved ones, and pursuing hobbies that brings you joy. Oh, that's supposed to be joy, not job. Joy. This is very important. Self-care is very important. Spending time, if you want to go to the spa, or you just want to, do whatever makes you happy. Okay? Seek support. Surround yourself with individuals who uplift and support you. This could be friends, family members, mentors. The BBPA, you have the mentorship system. If you don't have a mentor yet, ask for one. Surround yourself with that support. Support is critical, guys. Seek that support. Education. Educate yourself about microaggressions and dynamics of these subtle forms of discrimination that can help you better navigate and respond to them. So now we have a better understanding of the microaggressions that presents themselves. We have that education, so we are better positioned to respond to them. Set boundaries, very important. Establish clear boundaries with individuals who constantly engage in microaggressive behavior. Asserting your boundaries can help protect your well-being and mental health. You want to be smiling all the time. You don't want to be around people who puts you down or keep you down or put you in a bad mood and stuff like that. Focus on your strengths. Remind yourself of your strengths, accomplishments, and capabilities. Take pride in your abilities and what you have achieved despite the obstacles that you now face. Professional help. Seek professional help from the college and university, and you can seek professional help from even the mentorship program. Be an advocate. Engage in advocacy efforts to raise awareness about microaggressions and work towards creating a more inclusive and respectful environment at college and university, at your workplace, even in relationships, at home, wherever you are, seek to create that positive relationship. Be self-compassionate. Practice self-compassion and self-forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Even if you didn't handle a situation well, don't get down on yourself. Forgive yourself and strive to be better or do better the next time. Recognize that experiencing microaggressions can take a toll on one's well-being, but be gentle with yourself and to navigate through the challenges. Sometimes human beings, we're good at self-loathing and we're good at self-blame. So try to not to fall into that. It's like a trap. Forgive yourself and move on, okay? You are not alone. You're not alone. That's very important. So it's important to remember that you're not alone in facing the impact of microaggressions. We've all experienced it. Many individuals have experienced similar challenges and have found ways to maintain self-confidence and well-being despite the obstacles. It's not your responsibility. Keep in mind that addressing microaggressions is not solely your responsibility, and it's okay to seek support from others to navigate these experiences. So these are some takeaways that I want you to take away from this session. Addressing microaggressions require raising awareness, education, and creating a culture of accountability. And you've gotten that. And you know what accountability? You can have accountability with a friend or with your mentor. Yes, you have the education, we've raised the awareness, so you're thinking differently. You'll be better able to identify the microaggressions and to be able to know how to address them when they occur, if or when they occur. It involves acknowledging the impact of these behaviors. So you could acknowledge it and ask the question, you mentioned XYZ. Can you tell me your intent or why did you ask that question? Acknowledge it. Actively listen to those affected and foster open conversations about bias and stereotypes. Don't be afraid to have these conversations, but be calm and confident and in control. Knowing your worth, abilities, and identity are critical for self-confidence. Promoting understanding and empathy, individuals and organizations can work to create more inclusive and respectful environments. We are part of that process of creating inclusive, respectful environments. We are part of it. Don't shy away. Don't recoil and become excluded or allow yourself to be excluded. You matter. You are there because you matter. You are there because you deserve it. You're there because your opinion counts. And most important, you are there to attain a certain goal. And that goal is to get an A-class degree. And make sure you get it despite any distractions and any sort of microaggressions. In fact, microaggressions should sort of propel you to move forward more successfully. Recognizing and addressing microaggressions is an essential part of creating a more equitable and supportive society for all individuals. And it requires a commitment of ongoing learning, self-reflection, and empathy for everyone. Addressing the impact of microaggressions in college and university students require a multifaceted approach that involves collaboration between, of course, collaborate with your university leaders, the deans, the faculty, the staff, and the students, and by actively working to foster a culture of respect, understanding, and inclusivity. College and universities can create an environment where all students feel valued, respected, and able to thrive academically and emotionally. So that's the college and universities rule. But you personally, for us as individuals, by asking these questions and approaching any sort of microaggression that has been exposed to us in a calm, relaxed, and controlled and confident manner, that in itself can help or work towards changing biases and changing behaviors, and by extension, help us with our well-being and our mental health, and help us to be able to thrive academically. So today we covered quite a lot of topics from the context of universities and colleges. Microaggression, we know what it means. We've exposed some of the type of microaggressions you have in classrooms. We've spoken about the differences between microaggression and macroaggressions. The differences is microaggression is subtle, macroaggression is more overt. And we saw the different forms of microaggressions. We saw the impact that microaggressions can have on students. You know, it can affect your self-esteem, your mental health, your university performance. We looked at microaggression at academia, responses to microaggression, and how could we address it? And we look at common categories and types of microaggressions. So, you know, the denial, the criminalizations of it. And then we spoke about maintaining self-confidence after microaggression, which is very important. That's key. And we spoke about the takeaways. So that's the end of the workshop today, guys. Do you have any questions?
It doesn't look like we have any questions. Thank you again for a very thorough and informative session. I'm sure everybody's walking away with some nuggets of gold to apply in their day-to-day lives, hoping that we don't need to use them, but we do understand
That's right.
and realize the reality of the world in which we live in. And I think it's one of the challenges that come from being in a diverse country.
Yes. Michelle?
So,
I saw Michelle has her hand up.
Oh, no, just an applause. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed preparing this. I really enjoyed preparing this workshop, actually. I learned a lot myself.
Great. We're getting a lot of thank yous in the chat. So thank you again for those of you who are on this call. This recording will be on our YouTube channel in the coming weeks, so you will have it as a resource. And share it when when it is there, share it with people that you think might be able to benefit off of it. That is why we do these sessions. So everybody,
and I will send you, Stephanie, I will send you the PowerPoint presentation so you can share it with students.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicole. And then
You're
I wish everybody a fabulous night. Thank you for spending your time with us on a Wednesday evening, and all the best.